Hello, this is Gail Nettles with Beaded Jewelry Deva, and we're doing part 2 of the even count flat peyote bracelet tutorial. What you can do now, you've seen that I've gone ahead and made my bracelet the length that I want it. Now what I did is I took off the stop bead off the stop bead end and I threaded a needle onto it, because this is what we're going to use to go ahead and put on this button clasp. So, and I didn't mention this in the first video, but I like to use 6 to 8 inches of thread on the stop bead end, because I can make sure then that I have enough thread for the button. Okay, what I'm going to do first is I'm going to weave the thread, more specifically the needle and thread, through the work until I get about halfway into the work. Or I should say into the middle. That's right about here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over, put my needle through the work and turn it over, and this is going to be where I start putting on the clasp. Now it's just like if I was showing a button onto a shirt. Same general idea. So I've got my thread coming up through the work. I have a button with a shank. Put my needle through the shank and then down into the beadwork, just like you were sewing a button on a shirt. Then what I like to do is I like to go ahead and put my needle through a bead, just because I think it gives it a little bit more stability. Through a bead, then back up through the beadwork, through the shank, back down into the beadwork, through a bead that wants to cooperate with me, up through the beadwork again, through the shank, down into the beadwork. Now you can do this a few more times. The fire line is pretty hefty, pretty strong, so I'm not going to do it anymore, but you can do it another 2 or 3 times just to reinforce it. Now that I've got the button on, what I'm going to do is take my thread, and I'm on the back of the work, and I'm going to go ahead and weave through some of the beads. So up and down, weaving through the beads, and then I'm going to tie a half hitch knot, which is basically you take your needle up through under a thread, put your needle through, and you see this loop, put your needle through the loop and tighten. Put it through another bead and another half hitch. Let's see if this one's going to cooperate with me. There we go. Underneath the thread, put the needle through the loop, tighten. Okay, we've got that on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this close to the work. And we have a button on the end. Now we've got to go ahead and put the loop that'll hold the button onto your wrist. So there we go, and next step is going to be putting the loop on this end. Okay, now we're coming to the loop end. In the interest of time, I've gone ahead and I've woven my needle through the work until I'm about midway through. I strung on 22 purple beads because I happen to know that 22 is about the amount I need. So what I'm doing is I'm going ahead and just to estimate, in case you didn't know how many beads your particular button needs, you go ahead and you hold it about down where you're going to be sewing it in, and then you just make sure that it fits around your button. And like I said, I happen to know mine needs about 22. Yours may need more or less depending on the beads you use, the size of your button, and the way the stars are aligned sometimes, I think. Okay, here I go. Now I've got my thread coming out of a purple bead, and I'm just going to go ahead and go into the other side of that purple bead. So my needle is going through it to form a loop. So there we go. Got a loop. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go through the loop one more time to reinforce it. Now normally I would go ahead and go through maybe 3 or 4 times to reinforce, but in the interest of time I'm going to go ahead and only go through it the 2 times. There we go. Let's see if I can do it faster going this way. There we go. Now the reason why you want to go through 2, 3, or 4 times is because loops can get caught on things. And while I'm using Fireline, and Fireline is pretty durable, it can still get caught on things, it can still be cut, and just the more times you've gone through and reinforced your loop, the better. Okay, now let's pull it tight. There we go. So okay, you probably want to do this another time or 2. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and finish this up. So I've got my bead coming, or my thread, my needle coming up through the purple bead again, going down through the next bead, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weave my work through again, so to put it, tighten it up into the work. So here I am just weaving down through, and I'm going to tie a half hitch knot. There's one. Go down through another bead, tie another half hitch, and normally on the loop end I would tie about 3 half hitches to make sure that it was really stable. Okay, down through one more bead. And we are going to snip close to the work. And here we go, the completed product. This is a flat, even count peyote bracelet with a button and loop clasp, finished and ready to wear. Now, just to get an idea of some other things that you can do with a basic peyote stitch, here's a bracelet that I have a tutorial on my website, www.beadedjewelrydiva.com, and this is available as a free download. It's called Windows and Doors. Another one that I've done that I really like, and this has a basic peyote back, and I've just embellished it on the front. And another one that's really rather interesting is this one, and it has increases and decreases to give it a change in width. But the increases and decreases are done by bead size, not by adding or subtracting beads. So there you go. These are ideas for some of your bracelets, so get out there and get beading. Bye!